So today we're going to do a first oil change on a 2016 Polaris RZR 900S. So the stuff we're going to need to accomplish this task today is, of course, you're going to need your oil. You're going to need 2.5 quarts, but I just got 3 from the dealer. The Extreme Duty, the PS4 full synthetic engine oil, 10 to be a 50, and I got that straight from the dealer, as well as the Polaris oil filter. You're also going to need a funnel to be able to get in there. Some random rags just to help clean up your mess. And you're going to need a 6mm hex head. And I recommend a decent size extension, because once you get the drain bolt broke free, you can take the wrench off and just use the extension. It's kind of like a screwdriver, so you can get it down. And then of course you're going to need your drain pan. So let's get under and get to it. First thing you should do is start the RZR up and just let it run for a few minutes to warm the oil up, so it'll flow out a lot easier. Also suspend any particles, metal shavings or anything that's in the engine into the oil, so it'll drain out with the oil. So we'll just let it run here for a little bit, and we'll be right back. Now, to actually drain the oil, you don't really need to remove the skid plate. I did, just because it'll make things a little bit easier to see for the video. And actually, this is like the front here. This is facing the front, and the only thing you have to do is just take these. They're 10mm bolts. Then they're located in right here, and right here, and then there's 2 that'll be in the back. And they're just like right here by the hitch. And you take those 5 bolts off, and the skid plate just drops straight down. But another reason I wanted to take that off and show you was, when you get under here, the first bolt hole that you'll see is this one right here. And that's actually for your transmission, and it's not your oil. But if you keep going up a little bit further to that like oblong hole, there it is right there, and that's going to be the one we're going to be pulling out for the oil. So now we're going to take our 6mm hex, put up on the drain bolt right there. This is after we warmed it up a little bit. Kind of break it free. And like I said, once you break it free, you can take the actual wrench off, and that way you can just kind of use this as like a screwdriver. You want to make sure your crush washer doesn't get stuck up on the case either when you're pulling this down. So get it to the point where you feel it's loose, or getting looser. And it's loose now, so I'm just going to drop down. There comes the oil, and you can see the crush washer stayed on, so I'm good right there. So I'm going to clean this up. We're going to let things drain out, and then put the plug back in, and we'll go to the next step. One quick thing I forgot to mention, while it's draining or before it's draining, what I typically like to do, even on my cars, vehicles, or everything, is wherever you're going to be filling the oil up, and on the RZRs, this back here, it's this access panel right here where it says oil, I usually just kind of loosen this cap and just kind of crack it a little bit. That way some air can get in there and let the oil flow a little bit freer while it's coming out. Something what we can do while we're waiting for all the oil to drip out is we can replace the oil filter, and that's just in this access panel right here between the seats. So I'll have the passenger seat taken out. As you can see, just make things a little bit easier to get into. And just pull up on the access panel. There you see your dipstick and your oil filter. And what I'm going to do is just reach in there, unscrew that. And then, actually before you unscrew that, a good idea would be to take some rags, because those shop rags, like I said, and just kind of jam them down in underneath the oil filter. So when you pull that out, any excess oil that's going to be in there, it's just going to flow into that rag and not all over anything underneath. So once you get all the rags tucked down underneath there, see the lay a little bit better, you can go ahead and unscrew it and pull the old one out. And as you can see from the rag, I kind of unscrewed it and pulled it out really quick, but there's a real small amount of oil that actually came out on the rag. So just having that rag there just to make sure nothing pours down the engine, it's just a good idea. And also, once you got that off, it's a good time to just take a nice clean rag and clean up the area, the surface where the new the oil filter is going to be in contact with the case, just to make sure we get a good seal on there. Now, before installing the new oil filter, what you want to do is get some of your new oil. Just open up one of these bottles and just get a little bit out of it, a little bit on your finger. You're just going to come down here and wet all the way around this rubber gasket right here. And what that's going to do is going to give you a nice tight seal when you put everything back together. So now, after you have your new oil filter installed and your drain plug back in, after all your old oil has been drained out, we're ready to finally put in the new stuff. And on the RZR 900S, it's in the back here, underneath the access panel in the bed. Just pull the oil cap off, get yourself a nice clean funnel right here, and then we'll get our oil. And we need to put 2.5 quarts in. So we'll put in 2 and then kind of monitor the last one as we're putting it in. Get it around 2.5. An easy way to figure out if you got like half a quart or not is just take, if you have like a real bright flashlight or something, and just hold it on the other side of the oil bottle, and then you can see if you're down about half of what was actually in the bottle. It's just a quick and easy way to see how much you got to put in there. And then after you got the 2.5 quarts in there, what you're going to do is you're going to put all your stuff back and take your funnel out, put your oil cap back on, and then what you're going to do is we're just going to start it up real quick and just let it run for just a minute or two, and let the oil get up in the motor and stuff and into the filter and stuff. We're going to check the dipstick and make sure the oil level is good, and if it is, then we're good to go. Well, now that we got the oil in and everything, we let it run for just a few seconds, minute or so. We're going to just check the dipstick here, unlock it, slide it out, clean it off. Shall in, let it sit for a little bit. Pull back out, and can't really tell from there, but we are right between the marks, so we are good to go. Let me stick this back in. Lock it back in place. Just clean up around things a little bit. And we are done. And one last thing after you change your oil, you should have when you turn if you're ready for your service, when you turn it on the dash, you're going to have a little wrench flashing next to your hourglass. That means that the timer you had set for your next service is due. So what we want to do to reset that is we hit these buttons here, our voltage, and there's our total hours, say 26.2. This is the first service, so it's going to be the 25-hour service, and you can see that it's 0. It means we've ran out. And to reset that, the next service is going to be another 25 from now. This is 50 hours. All you do is hold that in until it starts flashing. It says 25. Hit the button again for 30, 35, 40, whatever you want to set it to. And it goes all the way up to turn it off. So we want to set it for 25, 15, 20, 25. And then we just let it Keep blinking for a while. And there it is. Our next service reminder is set for another 25 hours from now.